As we promised last week, in this episode we're going to show you the full design and layout of our future boat.
Yes.
It's now ready and we have the 3D files here on the computer. So we're going to film the screen so you can see exactly what we see. And we'll give you a walkthrough of the boat. So welcome to another episode of Ron Sailing.
So let's start with the outside. As we told you before, the boat is going to be 50 feet long or 15.25 meters. And the width at deck level is around 4.25 meters. Yeah. And at the waterline, it's around 3.8. So the sailing length to beam ratio will be around 1:4.
And the draft will be 2.2 meters.
Yeah.
Same as with the Ron 2.
Yes.
So here you see her, the beauty. Doesn't she look nice?
Yes, she does.
So you can see the big deck house, which was pretty much on the top of our priority list of features that we wanted to have. And we're really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, definitely.
And we worked a lot on the design.
Yeah, and some of the features with the deck house is not finished yet, but overall, we're very happy with how it looks now. The reasoning behind the deck house is, like we told you before, that we wanted to have like an elevated living room on the boat with great visibility from the inside looking out in 360 degrees, so we can keep our watches inside of the boat. And that's also one of the reasoning why the windows are vertical, to have a better visibility, less glare in the glass, and also to keep the rain off the windows. There's a slight overhang of the roof, and this way we will also prevent more sunlight to reach the inside, so we keep the temperature down a bit. So on Ron 1 we also had pretty big windows into the salon area, and they were uninsulated, so they let in a lot of heat into the salon, so it got very hot, and therefore we almost always had the curtains closed on that boat. So, and also because there was an angle, you got a lot of glare in the glass from the
So we wanted to prevent all this.
Yes.
This is a much better solution. Let's talk about the top sides.
Yeah. There's always balance you have to make between, you know, the looks of the boat, because you want to, if you have lower top sides, the boat looks longer and more sleek, maybe more beautiful, I would say in general terms. But on the other hand, you also want to have good headroom inside of the boat. So that's always a challenge. And in our case, we wanted to have a flush deck in front of the mast, and then of course it becomes a challenge. So that's why we decided to have that combing underneath the deck house to prevent the deck house to look really tall, but really keeps the deck house silhouette a bit more sleek, I would say. And it also gives us more headroom inside of the boat in the guest cabins that are beneath the deck house. But I think it turned out great, because one of the things that we really liked on Ron 1 and Ron 2 was the flush deck on the foredeck. The only downside of those decks were that they were a bit
too much curve. They have like too much of a curvation, which can be good when you're out at sea, because it's a bit easier to keep the balance, but you don't really need it that much. Now we still have a little bit of curve, but much less, so it's easier to use the foredeck.
In an anchorage, because the deck, the areas on the boat, you want to be able to use them at anchor, but also at sea. So there's also balance to be made. But I think it turned out great. So this way we will have a pretty big and flat area in front of the mast where we can hang out doing yoga maybe.
Let's see. How tall are the top sides?
I don't have the exact number, but around 1.5, a bit less, 1.45 meters. And in the front, in the bow, it's around 185, so pretty tall to keep water off the deck.
And it's also a more modern look on the bow.
Yeah, it's more. We wanted to keep the sailing waterline as long as possible on the maximum length of boat that we could build inside of the barn here. So the waterline length is almost as long as the length overall on the boat. And that's a great way to keep the average speed up on the boat.
Yeah, we calculated this morning what the speed will be.
Yeah, I mean, it's always
hull speed.
Yeah, I would say that this boat will be around 15 to 18% faster in general terms over a long distance compared to round 2. So it will be definitely will be possible to sail 200 nautical miles in 24 hours with this design.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and I think it will be possible to do it also without pushing the boat too much.
Like to keep it comfortable, like do comfortable sailing.
Yeah, and of course that's in trade wind conditions with a lot of surfs, which is a feature that will be a lot better on this design compared to round 2. This boat has a hull form that will release the stern wave a lot easier than on round 2. So.
And that way it won't pitch or heel as much.
No, probably this hull also has a lot more initial stability or hull or form stability. So,
which means
that it will take a lot more to heel the boat
over.
From the start before the keel weight, the ballast kicks in. And that way I think this hull will rock a lot less than round 2 did, roll back and forth, going downwind compared to round 2. And that was something that we didn't like with round 2. When you went straight downwind, she rolled a lot from side to side. So I think this hull form will be a lot better for that. So moving on to the keel. I would say that this keel has a lot of similarities to the one we had on round 2. It's like a low aspect ratio keel, pretty long, which is something we like because it gives you a large attachment point to the hull to take up the loads if you go aground or when you go aground with the boat. But in this case, on this keel, it also has a torpedo. All the lead will sit at the bottom of the keel, so it will be more efficient that way compared to how it was on round 2. As you can see, both the keel and the mast are pretty far forward on the boat, and the reasoning behind that is because we wanted to have the deck house free of any mast coming through it, but also that we wanted to keep the whisker poles not being too long to make it easier to use those.
To handle them.
But the sail plan is not finished yet, and also the exact positioning of the keel is also not set. So there will be more work on that later on.
Let's move to the aft of the boat. Here you see the cockpit, the stern of the boat. Let's zoom in a little bit. This program is called Rhino, which our naval architect Ulf is working with, and we've downloaded some. Yeah,
this is just a demo version, and we're not very good at it, as you might see.
But here you get a view of the stern and the cockpit. So it'll be an aft cockpit, which means that it's like open to the aft of the boat or the stern of the boat. We've had both center cockpit and aft cockpits on our previous boats. Both have pros and cons, but this was the best solution for this type of boat, being that we wanted the deck salon and everything else. We have 2 wheels, and that means we have this free passage going into the boat and aft. Of course, there will be a table there somehow, but we might be able to find a solution to lower that or to keep it not too big or to be able to remove it.
There will be some changes here in the cockpit. What we're working with right now is to some way to try to work out how this extended roof over the cockpit will look, because right as it is right now, it won't really work.
It's too low.
It's too low, and also the backrest here needs to be
on the benches.
Yeah, they need to be
higher.
Yeah. So we're probably going to lower the floor a little bit here, but of course that means that the engine compartment that sits below that will be a bit smaller. But I think we will, overall, it will look like this. And what we really liked on our first boat, round one, was the access to the water. And also when you came with the dinghy from the stern, it was really easy to load stuff on and off the boat. So that's why we wanted to have this integrated swim platform here. And there will also be a door leading into a compartment where we will have a dive compressor and some dive gear. And that will also be the area where the quadrant for the rudder sits. And that whole area will be, there will be a watertight bulkhead there, preventing any water. If you have a damage on the rudder or anything like that, that water won't be able to reach the rest of the boat.
We also really liked the center cockpit on round two. It felt very safe, and Vera was she was small. I loved the aft deck that you got, having a center cockpit. But as you can see here, we kind of have like a free deck space here as well, behind the wheels.
Yeah.
And it's, well, how wide was it?
It's almost 3 meters wide, that area, 2.9 meters.
And then on top of the backrests, we'll see the winches will sit, and then we have the lines from the mast leading aft, outside of the combing, or maybe inside.
Yeah, we haven't decided yet. I mean, of course, would be nice to have the lines inside of it, but then again, that will be more complicated than keeping the lines on the outside. So that are small details that we will work out later on. Here on the sides, next to the wheels, we will have some chairs. 2 seats. 2 seats,
One on each side.
Yeah.
As Ulf drawn or did on the Scandi yachts.
Yeah,
I can show you a picture of it here. So you can move around in them, and it's great when sailing, but also at anchor.
Before we go inside the boat, just a few words on the rudder. As you can see here on the design drawing here, it's a free-hanging rudder. And we haven't decided yet if we're going to have a skeg or not. A skeg is like a protective piece in front of the rudder. The free-hanging rudder is more efficient sailing-wise, and if you have a skeg, it will be a bit safer, a bit more sturdy. But then on the other hand, you could also over-engineer a free-hanging rudder.
So we'll come back.
We'll come back with that. We haven't decided.
But now you know why it looks like this for now.
Yes.
So let's move inside and see what we have there.
Yes. So let's remove some layers here so we can see a bit more on the inside. Take off the windows and the roof. So here you see the big sofa, which was a really important thing for us, with angled 90-degree corners.
No round corners that's as so many sofas or settees have on boats. I don't know why. Well, they take less space, I guess, but they're not comfortable. You can't lay down or not even sit comfortable, and that was really important for us, that you could do both of those things, and also to be able to lay down, like during watches. And we want like the table that will be in front. I think we will have it so we can lower it down and make like an additional mattress to put, so we have like a big bed sometimes.
So the seats are pretty deep, and also
we've been measuring a lot, like sitting in our sofa inside the house and on the floor, how high should like the backrest be and all of those things. And behind the backrests of the sofa is like a shelf and some storage area.
Yeah.
So this is on port side, and if we move over to starboard side,
you see we have a nav station.
A small nav station /
office.
Working station, computer.
And then behind that we have a small day head, which is...
toilet.
Yeah, which was a feature that we really liked on Ron 2, having a head really close to the cockpit. So,
easy access while sailing. So there will be a toilet, a sink, and that's it.
Yeah.
But you also see here that there is another opening down here, and that is the room to the engine room.
The door to the engine room,
Yeah, the door to the engine room, which will be watertight.
Yeah, so that will also be a watertight bulkhead, that whole wall separating the rest of the boat from the engine compartment. And the engine compartment will be the full width of the boat, going back all the way back to that stern locker, which is also a watertight compartment. So we will try to have all the serviceable parts of the boat inside the engine compartment, like water maker, washing machine, the engine, of course, if we decide to have diesel electric or just electric, we haven't decided, but most probably diesel electric. All of those things will be in the engine compartment.
The layout for the engine room is not ready yet.
No.
But at least you can see like how big the space is.
Yeah, it's really big. When you come in for the door going down into the engine room, you will have almost full headroom for me. 186, and then going down under the floor of the cockpit, there will still be around 1.4 meters, 1.5 in headroom, so plenty of space to do service works, jobs down there.
Here you can see those.
Maybe I forgot to mention that before when we talked about the cockpit. There will be like not a hatch that you will be able to open every day, but there will be a way to remove the floor in the cockpit. So if you need to pull the engine out, you can lift the floor off the cockpit and raise or lift the engine out from there.
So this whole compartment will be the engine room. And
Yeah.
you said we will have like all the stuff there, like we'll have the washing machine in there.
And all the tools,
Yeah.
everything. And the whole reasoning behind this is that we want to keep all the work and service out of the areas where you live on the boat, all the tools and all of that.
So you don't have to mess or make a big mess in the whole boat every time you need to do a service or maintenance.
And the good thing with making the design of the boat from scratch is that this way we can add a lot of weight in the stern of the boat. We have this engine compartment with all the heavy gear in there and all the tools and everything, but that's calculated into the design from the beginning.
Yeah, this was just now finalized, these weight calculations. So we have been thinking of all the heavy stuff that we're going to put in the boat.
Yeah, and where it's going to be.
Yeah.
Actually we got the finalized hull lines today from Ulf. So that's set now, which feels really nice.
We can show them in the end.
Yeah, but there will still be a lot of smaller alterations on the interior of the boat, but the main layout will be like this. But of course you will move things around a bit.
Now I remove a little bit more so we can see what hides underneath the deck salon. So underneath like the floor space and the sofa is one of the bigger guest rooms or guest cabins.
This area here.
Yeah, with a 160 centimeters wide bed, like a queen size bed. And there will be closets, lots of storage. So this sits on port side, and on starboard side,
in here.
Underneath the nav station and the head, we have a small guest cabin, like mainly for one person. Yeah. So you go through that door.
Yeah, here. Yeah. So there will be two doors One next to the galley and one on the starboard side here coming down.
So if we move, just twist this around a little bit so we can see as we walk down in the boat or further down.
From the deck house.
Yeah. Let's see, here. So you can see here that we have quite a big floor space. The galley is not ready. I don't think the final layout will look like this, but this is where the stove will be. We'll have an induction stove, oven, bench top, and then we'll have the sink in the center of the boat, which is perfect when the boat is heeling. And then on starboard side, we have the big head or bathroom, which will have a separate shower, as you can see there.
With full headroom inside.
Toilet, sink, lots of storage for all toilet stuff. Moving forward in the boat, in front of the galley, we have master's cabin, which will be our bedroom with a king-size bed, 180 centimeters. And there will, of course, be some closets, storage added in here as well, maybe a little sofa.
And then in front of the master's cabin, in front of this wall here, there is another watertight bulkhead, and the storage area up front there will have a watertight hatch from the deck, so we can keep like sails, asymmetrical spinnakers, lines and fenders and stuff like that in there. And then in front of that is the chain locker with the chain and the windlass. And
this compartment here.
Yeah. So overall, I have to say that in this design, we have most of the things, or almost everything that we had on the list from the beginning.
Yeah, we found a good balance between everything.
Yeah, most of the features that we were happy with on round 2 and round 1 are in this design, but just more and better of everything.
Yeah. That was a walkthrough of the layout of the boat, as ready as it is right now. But we wanted to finish off by showing you these lines of the hull that we got today.
Yeah, the final lines. So this is how the hull will look, the finished lines. The keel, like I said before, will probably be moved a little bit, and also with the rig and everything. But the actual hull is set now. So this is what we're going to build, or start building soon.
Yeah, we need to find material now. Quick. Hope you liked the video, and thanks for watching. And see you next Friday with some new exciting stuff.
Yes. Bye-bye.